Hello and welcome to Wingin It. So we are back once again for another episode of the European Expansion Bootcamp. And joining me again is Tay from Tuck and Cash. So how are you doing, Tay?
I'm doing great. Hello.
Hello, thanks for joining me. And yeah, I think this will be the final part of the Bootcamp series as we take a look here at the 5 brand new bonus cards that have been introduced with the European expansion. So certainly some interesting bonus cards here. I think that will potentially mix up some of the options that you might get, particularly drawing a bonus card during the game. So yeah, we can get stuck right into this. So we'll start with the Behaviorist. So for this bonus card, for each column that contains birds with 3 different power colors, you get 3 points. So certainly, I think this is quite a tricky one to be able
hmm
to master, but certainly potential for high points here.
Yeah, I think there's potential for high point, but like you say, it's tricky, especially if you go with traditional engine building.
Mm,
It's very easy that you stack like two brown power in two habitat because
right.
brown power is just so good, and then you just miss the opportunity to score 3 points.
Yeah, I think if this is the kind of bonus card you get a choice of at the start of the game, you can
Mm,
plan a little bit more and try and
yes.
get 6 or even 9 points from this. I think is certainly doable if you, yeah, make sure that you're playing the right kind of birds. But like you say, I think normally the way you would start off your game is to try and get a brown power in the forest and in the wetlands. So that's already one column that you can't complete for
Right.
that. But there's certainly potential for points. I think really where this one is quite difficult to work with is if you pick it up mid to late game and you've already filled up most of your
Yeah.
columns. And I think in most cases you'll find that actually you have blocked off your columns and aren't able to score that many points from this.
Yep, I agree. And again, I like a lot of this like bonus card or previously talk about end of round goals. I think the design is to introduce this extra points that compensate, for example, here for game where player don't start with a lot of great brown powers.
Right.
Then with this bonus card, you can score additional points with different variety of birds.
Yeah, and as well, with the new teal powers, that does give you an extra option. So there are,
Yep,
4 different power colors you can get. So certainly potential to score points, but yeah, I think this is quite a tricky one to work with.
right.
All right, moving on. Next, we have the Bird Bander. So this is going to score points based on birds that you've played that can live in multiple habitats. So potentially either 4 or 7 points for this bonus card. So yeah, what are your views on this one, Tay?
I guess like the return for this bonus card is not great but pretty solid,
Mm,
and I think based on my experience, it's quite easy to score this
right.
because in the game you're incentivized to play a lot of birds with good brown powers, and usually birds with good brown power can live in multiple habitats. So this really synergizes with that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Certainly getting those 4 points, I think 4 birds down is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Again, like with the behaviorist, I think if you pick this up early in the game, even in your
hmm
in your starting hand, I think you can really plan around that, and certainly you can maybe pick birds in your starting hand that are going to fit with this pretty nicely. So certainly, I think good potential for scoring points here. Even like say on that lower threshold, but I think the 7 points, I think that's reasonably doable as well for this one.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
Okay, we can move on to the next bonus card. So this is the Ethologist. So this is for in any one of your habitats, you get 2 points per different power color. So again, certainly a very interesting one that kind of maybe doesn't cater towards the traditional engine building style that we've seen before,
Right.
but yeah, certainly some potential for points here.
Yeah, I think this is a really good bonus card. I thought it's also interesting as well. It's like basically if you look at all the bonus card, even from the base game, this is one that basically guarantee
Mm,
points because
yeah.
as long as you play one bird, you score 2 points. So there's no other bonus card that guarantee that. So and certainly like I don't think 4 points is a stretch, and that's potential to score like maybe 6 points. So this is quite a flexible and good bonus card.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point to make is that, like you say, you can't not score bonus points from this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you
Yeah.
pick this up late in the game, you're
Yes.
guaranteed 2 points, and I think in most cases you take that. But certainly 4 or even 6, I think is very doable. Like you say, I think
Hmm.
particularly late in the game, maybe in a particular habitat you've already got a brown power and a pink power. I think normally you'd look to try and get some big point white power or no power birds down in that late game. So if you have this bonus card and you can kind of plan around that, then certainly getting 6 or more points is very doable for this one, I think.
Yep, totally agree.
Good stuff. Okay, we can move on to the next bonus card. This is the Citizen Scientist. So this one you score points based on the number of birds you have with tuck cards. So there is a similar bonus card in the base game, which gets you 2 points per bird with a tucking power. But this one is
Hmm.
slightly different. So yeah, how do you kind of see this one playing out, and how do you make that comparison with the bonus card in the base game?
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the scoring structures here, like it's one of those bonus cards that give you pretty low return. Like
Mm,
for example, you need to play four birds. You need to have four birds with tuck card to score 3 points. So that's
right.
like less than a point for each bird. And this is no way, as good as the bird counter. When I first saw this bonus card, I thought it was quite good because I know that in the new European expansion, it introduced quite a few birds with tugging power or allows you to tug. But soon I realized it's actually kind of difficult to score because you need to tug the cards in different birds.
Exactly. I think this is a really, really tricky one to get, even that lower
Hmm.
threshold.
Right.
If it was maybe 2 or 3 birds for that lower threshold, I might see it playing out quite well,
Yeah.
just to get that lower threshold. But yeah, 7 or more birds with tuck
Yeah.
cards, that
Yeah.
unless you have a chaffinch or a chiff chaff, or a lot of these kind of teal powers that let you tuck cards at the end of the round, or cards
Hmm.
like the Benelli's Eagle. No, it's so tricky to get that many different birds with tuck cards. So yeah, I think this is quite a tricky bonus card to work with. And again, if this is one that you pick up late in the game, chances are you're not going to have enough really to score any points from this.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so last but certainly not least, we have the diet specialist. So this is going to score
Hmm.
points based on the number of birds with a food cost of 3 food. So yeah, certainly, lots of big point birds are going to have that 3 food cost. So do you feel like a bonus card like this is going to incentivize more big point birds to be played?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Again, we kind of talked about it before. Like with big point birds, you score it one time, but there's no power for you to make use of throughout the game. So I think this bonus card kind of compensate for that.
Mm,
And three food costs, like is a lot of investment to play a bird. So being able to get extra points from this bonus card is kind of nice.
right, right. And I think as well, a lot of birds that give bonus cards, certainly in the base
Hmm.
game, they cost 3 food. So I think there's a
Right.
there's a reasonable chance that if you do pick this up, you have potentially already met that lower threshold. And again, 3 points. I think if you can pick that up from a bonus card late in the game, that's certainly
Hmm.
always a nice option to have.
Right.
Okay, so we've taken a look at the 5 bonus cards here, but I also want to, I guess, put together sort of like a mini ranking or tier list for these to kind of give an indication of, yeah, how we see these playing out, and in terms of the number of points you might expect to get from these, which are the best and which are the worst. So, should we perhaps start with the worst one of these 5? Because I think that might be the easiest to rank. So,
Yeah. I I think based on our discussion, I felt like it's pretty obvious that the citizen scientist is the worst bonus card of the five
yeah.
here. It's just the point return is low, and then in general, it's just difficult to even hit the threshold. So,
Yeah, I can't argue with that one. I think that's a pretty straightforward fifth place. But yeah, for fourth place, I'd perhaps make a case for the bird bander. Um,
mhm,
but it's still a good bonus card, and like we said, I think getting that 4 points is always going
right,
to be good. I think it's difficult to, when you're ranking bonus cards, you're looking at risk and return. So
right,
certainly, I think if you look at like the Ethologist and the Behaviorist that we've got, these are very kind of different in terms of that risk reward
Yeah.
factor.
The scoring
So
structure is different.
exactly, behaviorist. I think there are going to be a lot more games that you score 0, but there's going to be a lot of
Mhm.
games where you get 6 or even 9. Whereas, like we said on the
Right.
Ethologist, you're kind of guaranteed 2 or even 4 points. So
Mhm.
yeah, trying to sort of make that comparison is quite difficult. But yeah, how do you feel, Bird Bander in the fourth place?
Yeah, I think it's between bird bender or diet
Mm,
specialist, but based on, the return and the scoring structures, yeah, I agree that diet specialist might be a little slightly better than the bird bender, so I
yeah,
can see bird bender in the fourth place.
yeah, I think they're pretty close. They certainly, I would rank them pretty close together. But I quite like Diet Specialists. I think getting
Right.
4 or more birds, I think
Mhm.
particularly in the European expansion with all of these new forest birds that let you get lots more food, I think it's
Mhm.
a lot more easier to manage that. So yeah, I
Right.
think Bird Bander in fourth, and then Diet Specialist in third, and then we leave it
Yep.
between these two to fight out for that top spot.
I
So I'll let you pick which one you want to put first, and then I'll see if I could disagree with you or not.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, these are the best scoring structure into a bonus card. You just get like 2 or 3 points per condition.
Right.
I think I have to go with Ethologist for first here, just because of the guarantee point and how lightly, it's just easier to score like 4 or 6 point with this bonus card.
Yeah, and like I said, I think this is a really tricky one. Um,
Okay.
I definitely agree that Ethologist is the much safer pick. I think
Yeah.
if particularly later in the game, if I get the choice between these two from playing a bonus
Yeah.
card bird, I'm probably going to pick the Ethologist. I know there's a lot of love for the Behaviorist purely
Yeah.
because if you play your cards right, you can get 12 or even 15 points from this, and
Yeah.
that is always nice and always difficult to do from a bonus card. But I think I have to agree with you. The
Right.
behaviorist, it is just really, really tricky. And I think for me, whenever I have it, it almost distracts me too much from my game
Oh,
because
I can see that.
I'm
Yes.
so busy focusing trying to get the right colored power down in the right slot
Hmm.
that I'm not thinking carefully enough about, does this fit with my strategy? Is this actually going to
Yeah.
score enough points on its own to make it worth playing? So it
Right.
certainly is a tricky one to work with.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, well, that is our miniature ranking for the European expansion bonus cards. And who knows? I mean, maybe one day we can revisit the wider bonus card tier list. I know that is something we looked at previously for the base game. I'd
Yeah.
certainly be interested in making these wider comparisons and looking at how these bonus cards compare to the existing ones from the base game.
Yeah. And I guess one last thing I kind of want to point out, I felt like, yeah, I mean, all these new bonus cards are quite interesting, but I thought something that was really missing is any bonus card that reward like cash, like bird
Mm,
with cash
yeah.
food, especially given that there's a lot of new birds in European expansion that allows you to cash food. So I thought that was interesting that there was no bonus card that associate with cash food.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point. We have bonus cards here that to do with the habitats, to do with the food costs, to do with the power colors, and obviously from the base game as well, we've got Falconer for hunting powers, and we've got
Hmm.
the bird counter for tucking powers. But yeah, I find that interesting as well. I think it certainly would, I think, encourage more of those kind of forest engines that go for lots of cached food, because if you're able to get a couple of extra points from your bonus card, that is always nice. So yeah, that does feel like a little bit of a miss trick there for the expansion.
Right.
Okay, well, that was all we were going to take a look at for bonus cards. So thanks again for joining me, Tay. And yeah, this is the end of our European expansion bootcamp. So if you haven't seen the other parts of the series, do definitely check those out. But this is not the end of the European expansion content. We have got lots more videos on the way, lots of gameplay and strategy stuff. So please do head on over to Terry's channel, which is Tuck and Cash, and check out some more videos over there.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right, yeah, thanks for watching, and do subscribe to both of our channels for more gameplay and strategy content.